This episode contains discussions around addiction, suicide, and violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Stories of Hope, real honest stories of transformation, brought to you by Junction 42. On today's episode,
somebody owed the gang money and I went out and I done the guy damage. He really got hurt and I saw his face and I walked up and I sat in the house and they claimed the money, whatever it was, tens of thousands of pounds.
Every little thing, everything will be alright.
Hello and welcome to Stories of Hope. My name's Richie and by now hopefully you get it. I'm travelling around the UK to meet some absolutely amazing individuals who are sharing their stories of hope with us. Today I have the privilege of spending a bit of time with a guy who had a massive reputation in Glasgow. Not only has he turned his life around, but so has his family. So I would love to introduce to you Charles Savage Kingsman. Welcome to Stories of Hope. First of all, I've got to ask, Savage. I've got to ask about the name Savage. You weren't actually born with that, were you? Like, that's got to be like an alter ego.
I was born Charles Kingsman. My mum fell out with my biological dad, so she went back to her maiden name, which was Savage. So I was always called Charles Savage. There's nothing wrong with the name Savage at all, but it was what I became. When I was a criminal, when I was a reputation, when I was doing violence and all that, the name Savage I quite liked, because of the stuff I got up to. But I had on my birth certificate Kingsman. So when I was on the run for the police and I was running away because I was caught with drugs and they were busting and they were trying to catch me, made good of my escape and I went to England, stayed for 2 years and I used the name Kingsman to sign on the brew so that I could get a gyro and I worked under Savage, So I evaded the police. So I had 2 national insurance numbers and 2 identities. So then and I got out of the drug life and I get a new life basically. I got a new chance to start, doing well. I made my menses. I tried to clear things up and actually writ to the fraud squad and says, listen, I'd used the 2 names because I still had 2 national insurance numbers. I thought this will catch up me with one day. And they said, you need to choose one. So that's how I chose the name Kingsman. But so that's because I felt it was to do with, my character as well, but and also, so it's Charles Savage Kingsman.
Could you tell us a little bit about maybe the life that you lived before you decided to leave that behind and change?
I'm in recovery, for 18 years. And back before I struggled with addiction, I was abused when I was about 14. They put me in a proof school because I started shoplifting and everything. And I was no bad at that. I was good at that. So they said, you're rubbish, you're stupid at the school. And I thought, I'm not stupid. I can make £100 a day down the town. So that's where I went. That's where I felt acceptance on the streets.
Making more money than the teachers and the people who are in the school.
Probably. So I went there and I done that and they put me in care at the age of 14 and it was one of the biggest scandals in Scottish care history. The guys that done the stuff in there got 28 years between 2 of them. I was in the middle of all that stuff happened, and the boys all looked up to me at the time because I was a soccer hooligan and I had a wee swagger and that, but I was only a wee boy. I was only 14, 15. And I made a vow, when that happened, I made a vow that nobody would ever hurt me again. My heart hardened, and
the barriers went
up and I've used the instincts to protect me, and I ended up with a drug habit at the age of 17, but I was in the rave scene and I loved that. I loved to dance. I loved to dance all night. I had designer clothes and, I was no bad at selling neckies because I'd been a casual and everything. So I kind of progressed through that. It's like the champagne lifestyle, but it was all a sham and it did leave me in pain, So after that, I went to England and, was on the run and that I used my 2 names, the 2 identities and stuff like that. So that's the way my life went for years and years. And I was involved in a lot of stuff and, made a lot of mistakes, a lot of street violence that I was involved in.
How would you describe that person that you were back then?
Probably a violent thug.
Okay.
A violent thug, and as I say, I'm not doing that to say, that was a good lifestyle because it wasn't, but that had became my reputation. I would send folk in to do robberies if they owed me money. I would sell drugs to feed my habit, and I would, try and live that lifestyle, and I was involved. I was up to there in it, I was really, really involved in it. Went to prison many times and, had my own business at one time, but, I got high on my own supply. The old cardinal rule, don't get high on your own supply.
Don't eat all the chocolate in the sweetie shop.
I but I don't know many guys that don't get high on their own supply, so, addiction caught up me. My mental health was on the floor. I had psychiatrists and all that, and, for me, we were involved in a gang, so there was a unit of us that we were quite involved in that stuff.
And I guess, as well, when you're a young kid, when you're that age, you want to belong. You want to find people who, when I went through my teenage years, I would go out on a Saturday night, go to all the bars. You could see the people, the people who didn't quite fit in society, and they found their fit in that area, in that movement, and you could see how people would get swallowed up in that.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy, isn't it?
I think it's a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel as though they belong, And as I said, in the school, I didn't feel I belong. My mum loved me. My stepdad loved me. I didn't know my biological dad, but my stepdad loved me. But he was involved in stuff, ended up getting 12 years and was involved in, it was all over the news when he got to jail. And I was part of that. I became we were all in it together.
You were part of the family business.
Part of the family business. My uncle had got 13 years and, big sentences, so we were really involved in it. It was a family business, but I'm glad to say that they're all out of it now. My dad's back working, doing amazing. My uncle, who done the 13 years, he's one of the main guys for recovery meetings across Ayrshire. He's helped start so many of them. He's just started a new charity called Harbour, and he's doing amazing. And my wee sister, who was brung up with us, been examples, she get 13 years.
We spoke to her,
Aye.
and what I got from her was the fact that she felt really loved and she felt really protected, because she was saying that it was normal for the door to go in, and it was normal for the helicopter to be circling around. That was the norm that she got brought up in.
Bulletproof vest in the cupboard. Do you know what I mean? Aye, that's what gizzle in your clothes and all that's,
But she felt loved. She felt like she was provided for.
And so did I. That was my experience. That loyalty to get affection. I would show my loyalty by, when I became an addict, then that wasn't a good skill to have in a crime gang, because they were okay with cocaine, but I took other drugs as well, so I had to hide that. And I had to, go about putting knives to people to sell me, if it was heroin or whatever. I took everything. There was times I was high on Eckies and done great with that, but I took other drugs, so I had to hide that,
It's funny, isn't it? Because, as I said, as a guy who has never really seen that world, when you think of gang members and all that side, you think, worse than worse, no loyalty, it's all about money, it's all about this. But actually, the more I've spoken to people through this whole series, is that these people actually care.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loyalty. There's a moral compass.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll see the Sopranos on the telly, and I'm not saying we were the mafia, but we were really involved, and that's what it was like. It was like an honour. If somebody done something, there was certain things that had to happen. If somebody owed money, they had to be dealt with, in a certain way. There was an offence for something, so there's a code of conduct in that. If somebody grasses, they get stabbed. And a lot of the time, if I wasn't doing good in my addiction, if somebody needed hurt, I would volunteer straight away, because I knew that would compensate for me to get brownie points to say, you are useful, you are worth something. No, that they didn't, because they love me. They did love me as well, but I would volunteer for that because I thought I would be liked even more. And I would shut down my feelings and do things like that. And I've wept over people I've hurt. I've made amends. I've made many amends now, but in there I was drawn into that a lot of the time to do that.
Would you mind maybe sharing just an example of something maybe that you've seen? You don't have to go into detail, but maybe something that maybe a low point for you, or a point where you're like...
Somebody owed the gang money and I went out and I done the guy damage. I'll not say what I done, but he got hurt. He really got hurt. And I saw his face and I walked up, and I had a drug habit at the time. and I sat in the house and they claimed the money, whatever it was, tens of thousands of pounds, and I was in the house rattling for drugs, and that was a low point for me. I also had a wee beautiful wee boy. Sometimes when I was doing well, I had Rolexes and could do well, and sometimes like that, I told you nothing but because the doors had shut me, and I couldn't look after my wee boy. I could, buy him Burberry clothes or whatever, but I couldn't be the dad that I knew that I wanted to be. That was a low point for me. My wee sister died. Now, I've got a wee sister who's now doing amazing and in recovery, and I'm so grateful for that. But my other wee sister, who was very close, we were very close, she died taking crack. It wasn't an overdose, but she took crack and she fell down the stairs. That was a low point for me. It was the violence and the lifestyle, that stuff that was drawing me in. I was like a slave to my reputation, and then I couldn't be the dad that I wanted to be because I was an addict and a criminal. And also, I've been diagnosed with drug-induced psychosis and all that as well. So, it was just closing in on me.
It's amazing because now, we'll touch a bit more on this a little bit in the podcast, but we're now sat obviously in a building and you are a dad to all those girls and guys out there who are, going, I want what you've got.
Well, I hope I'm a big brother. I don't think I'm that old. No, it's good. It's cool. No, some of the young guys, I've helped young boys at 21 and buried them sometimes when they've died. So it's sweet and it's bitter, I've been the best man at weddings with guys you've helped get clean. They've been on Buckfast and in prison, and then you see them, running soup kitchen buses, marrying a beautiful girl, getting their kids back, climbing mountains with them, absolutely buzzing, do you know what I mean? And saying, will you be the best man at my wedding?
And that's probably better than any high that any drug could give you.
There's no high like the most high, when you get that high, when you see somebody being helped like that, that is beautiful. I spent £500 in crack, never felt like that, to see them beaming, because they go in that same guy, and I could tell you bundles of them, that same guy's now, working full time, he helps lots of boys, so it gets replicated. When I sold drugs, I would get so many to sell for me, they would get others to sell for me, but when you do this kind of work, that replicates as well.
What was the point? Where did it all start to go? Like, I mean, obviously it all sounds like it went wrong, but at what point did things change? What happened? Like,
well, for me, it was a build-up of things. My wee sister dying, not being able to look after my wee boy, and the violence getting worse and worse, doing things for money, damage to people and stuff like that. I just knew that lifestyle wasn't working.
I've never had the amount of money like yourself was talking about, but I'm guessing in the beginning it must be, this is great, I've got all this money, I can do whatever I want, and then suddenly it's like, it must be a point of like, this isn't worth.
When I get into that lifestyle, for the ecstasy scene, I started thinking it was great and everything like that. And then there was a sting in the tail, hundreds of gold, going abroad. I bought my own business but couldn't run it because it ended up getting high main supply, and stuff like that. But you could have people working for you and all that. But that shine off of that stuff went away, and, even at the end, when I get clean, I had a Rolex, I had a bought house, I had, still had a lot of folk working for me and stuff. But that stuff, when I changed, that stuff didn't mean what it used to mean to me. In fact, I gave that away. I gave it away to somebody and told them my life's changed and your life can change. And that guy who was in my family is now 7 years sober and clean today.
Wow. So at what point did it change? Because a lot of people who've spoken to, there's kind of like a theme where they're kind of at that point, they get arrested, sent to prison. What happened to you?
I'd been to prison and stuff, but I'd never done lots and lots, like big sentences like other folk close to me. I'd done like remands and stuff. I would even get witnesses sent to and all that. I would do everything not to go to prison. I went enough times. I was in the jail quite a bit, but no big long sentences. But for me, it was the hole in the soul, the desperation of my lifestyle that had caught up with me, my mental health. I was taking cocaine. Sometimes, as I say, I never had hundreds of money. Sometimes I did because of the circles. And this time I had 20 grand in the safe. I'd fell out with my missus. I ended up taking cocaine and I'd enough to kill me. And I just kept banging it and banging it and banging it. And I did near-death experience. You know, I knew I couldn't look after my wee way, and I knew my mum had helped me, by the way. My family were brilliant. My dad and my mum, they took my wee boy in to help me, and that breaks your heart. It didn't break my heart. They helped, broke my heart. I couldn't look after him. I'll ever be eternally grateful to them for that. You know, he's 21 today and he's got a brilliant job and he plays football, and I've been in his life because I get clean no long after that, you know. But it was at that point that I was taking that cocaine, the near-death experience. I felt I was getting dragged to hell, and I knew the bad things I'd done, it wouldn't have been good. No, I just thought I was never getting out this OD, cocaine and just fit, you know, and that's where I got some faith and cried out a wee bit for help, you know.
And when you obviously cried out for help, what did that look like?
I just said, if there's a God, I give you a wish. You know, I give him a wish. I didn't know any big prayers of that. I was like, I give you a wish. And I woken up. I don't know how I got to hospital. Nearly amputated my leg, you know. It was torture. I'd smashed all my head in this fit, you know. But it was definitely more than just a fit. It was like spiritual as well, you know. And I just had that cry of desperation to change.
And how did that like process look like? I know you said about how you gave like your Rolex away.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes harder to get out of that gang culture than it is.
You're bang on.
I mean, I've never been in a gang, but it's like, I guess it's like you don't just kind of go one day, hi guys, right, listen, I've been having second thoughts. I think I'm going to leave.
Yep.
Thanks so
Yep.
much. God bless you all.
Yep.
See you later. Change your mobile number.
Oh, definitely. I think that's a great part of my story that is real. You know, so I was involved in all that crime, all that violence, all that stuff for years. And my mum had took me to 12-step meetings and she loved that. And I went there and I really got serious and I started getting clean, and I got clean for every single drug, and they told me I was powerless and I needed power, basically. And that's when I started thinking I've not got the strength to carry on and do this. I've tried so many times. I'd even had implants in, paid thousands of pounds, go and sold drugs to get implants in and get put an implant in me so I couldn't take a certain drug. And then I wanted another one for cocaine, and it was a heart change I needed.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I'd spent thousands and I'd went to rehabs and all that. And when I was broken, when I was, you know, in that place, I went to the meetings, and it was at that stage that I opened myself up to faith. I knew that I couldn't go on as a criminal. I needed a career change.
Yes.
I'd asked God in. I'd started trying to turn away from the old life.
Yeah.
But I could make money, so folk would depend on me. And the gang were actually priming me to take over, because when I wasn't using drugs, I was pretty able. When I was a young boy, I could sell a lot. So they were like, right, you're going to be the back
CEO.
You're back again, here we go.
Yeah.
And that plan was there, but God did another plan, you know. And I ended up at that stage praying and asking God to give me the power to go back to the gang, because that was as big a stronghold as my addiction. Because as I said, if somebody needed something happened, I would be there, and it was a camaraderie, and I love them to bits, but I couldn't stay in it. My first mentor says, Chick, you need a career change, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I done. I went back and I said, I'm finished. I paid the debt, what it was, I don't know, 70, 50 grand, didn't matter. I paid that debt and I got out it, you know. And it was at that stage, you know, I never stuck him in, but they all started getting bust and all that as well. And I think maybe the coppers knew that I'd turned my life round, and they didn't take me to court. They maybe thought if I'd went to court, I'd put my horn up. They never done me, but I actually got out the gang at that time.
Wow.
And actually that's when I gave the Rolex away. That's when I started making amends to the ones I'd harmed and all that. I was going to guys that punted drugs for me and giving them Stone Island jackets and rings and all sorts of things. And the stuff that I was after all the time didn't mean nothing. I was just so happy to put my head in the pillow of the night and have peace, that I wasn't waking up in my prison. Do you know what I mean? That I could begin to look after my wee boy. I could begin to get my life together and get on the straight and narrow path.
And obviously now that relationship's restored and you are looking after...
I've got married a lovely woman. I've got 4 Waynes. One's just coming up. He's just in the road up. One of my middle son, he's going to university.
Wow.
My oldest son's got a great job, brilliant football player, had a great relationship. My mum has still looked after him, but he stays with me many times. He wanted my middle boy, I'm no way his mum, but he's amazing boy. And I've got 2 to my wife. You know, so I've got a father.
How long have you been married for?
I've been married for about 11 years.
Wow.
Aye.
That's amazing.
A family where there's love.
Do you know what I find absolutely incredible? And I'm going to share this because I think it's important that people understand kind of where we're at today. We're recording this episode in Glasgow and we're almost off the beaten track. Like, the scenery is beautiful, but we're in this little building called the Bible Centre. And outside, like, we're in this little room and there's a window, and every so often, like someone catches my eye. There's like 50, 60 Charles Savages outside. People who have come here to spend their weekend listening to you and other people who have been in your situation. And that's kind of part of your job now, isn't it? You want to see people's lives change, and you're here this weekend hosting this retreat.
Yeah, we've been running these retreats with John Edwards, myself, and the team, Broken Chains team, so that, you know, it gives the guys a chance to hear kind of how other lives that have been changed, and give them hope and give them some teaching round about how when you leave prison, when you go to rehab, when you come home, how to live, how to make that change. Because it's so hard when you've done crime for so many years. It's so hard to get the power to actually turn away from it, you know, and stuff like that. So that's what we're trying to equip the guys to actually, for change, and a positive change. You know, as you said, there's about 60 guys here at the weekend. I've got a right heart for them. I think some of the skills I had in selling ecstasy, because we used to, and I'm not bragging about this, we used to run like all the guys through all the areas for to go into the biggest dancing in the metro, and we would give some to them. So God's used some of these skills to say, I want you running these retreats, I want you doing, and what you're sharing's the love and the goodness and the value and stuff like that, instead of, you know, giving them drugs, you know.
So you are now heading up a charity called Broken Chains.
Yeah.
You're going to give him back into the stuff that you took out of way back.
Yeah.
How did Broken Chains come around?
There's a guy I need to honour. His name's Alec Muir. I just changed my life, and he had started bringing addicts in. I'd got clean through the 12 steps, but I'd became a Christian.
Okay.
And he asked me, he was starting a soup kitchen, and I helped him. And then a guy called Nicky Cruz came over from America, and there was about 1,500 folk outside the Magnum and 1,300 inside it. So, you know, we were able to share our lived experience. He was an ex-terrorist, drug dealer. I was an ex-drug dealer thug. Do you know what I mean? So the two of us were involved. He moved on to other things and done other charities, but I kept going and got a job for 6 years and everything, but kept going to Broken Chains to share my story, and these guys kept it going in there. And I had a job at a tile and bathroom place, but about 9 years ago, they said there's a wee job coming up part-time, and my wee daughter had been born with she needed a lot of operations in her wee lip and all that, and she's beautiful, by the way. I love her to bits, love them all. But I had to come off my work to look after her. My wife worked at the time. And it was at that time I'm thinking, maybe I'm getting called to work with people. I love doing it voluntary, but called into full-time stuff to share the love that people are valued. All the young team and the lassies that were dying. I'd lost a wee sister, and I had a wee sister in prison, and I've got a heart for these lassies. I treat them like wee sisters. You know, I've got bundles of them in there the day, you know, that are thriving, that was speaking the day. So it was that stage that I got the job at Broken Chains as the part-time support worker, but now I'm full-time, the senior support worker, and no, it's about titles, but I'm kind of running the project, and we've seen a girl come through, Debbie. She's about 2.5 years sober. I took a funeral, her man's funeral, who was my best pal. He was a lovable rogue, bank robber and everything like that, but he was a brilliant guy. I loved him, and his wee son, you know, is Debbie's son. So when I took that funeral, she come through the ranks and felt something and changed her life. Now she's working full-time for us. You know, I've got a boy that for Irvine, 3 for the one family, you know, that's now, one's in rehab and 2 of them's working. One's paid at Broken Chains, the other one's voluntary at Broken Chains, and the boy that's paid's wee daughter's here as well at this retreat this weekend. So that's 4 for the one family, you know.
Maybe someone's listening to this online at the moment as well. And they're thinking, I kind of need what you've got.
Yeah.
What do they need to do? Like, what's the next? How do they make that first step?
For me, the greatest thing was that cry in my heart. I didn't know, you know, God. I just was desperate, you know. And when you're desperate and you feel that, you know, that you can get help, you know. So when I cried that prayer, I think if you pray and you ask God to come into your life, he's well able to reveal himself to you. You know, for me, it was that cry, and then God took me to the 12 steps, and then he took me to a church where I heard about Jesus and I could have a relationship with him. You know, that's how he worked with me. But I definitely think there's a lots of things out there where you can get help when you're struggling. For me, the best thing I've done is ask God to come in and give us a hand. You know, it was like, you know, it was just a needed power to get forgiveness. To get forgiveness if you'd messed up like me or anybody else. No, if folk are in prisons, then, you know, or even in you're in the prison in your mind, you don't need to be in prison to feel guilt, to feel shame, to feel remorse, to feel maybe somebody's hurt you, you know. So I got forgiveness and I forgave others, and that liberated and freed me up and gave me the power to live the life I'm living today.
What does peace and forgiveness look like to you?
When I got forgiveness, it was like an Arctic truck getting lifted off of me. Do you know what I mean? I could breathe. I would look at folk and want to fight with them because I wasn't comfortable with myself. All of a sudden, I'm looking at folk and they're coming to me and saying, can you give my son a hand? He's needing help. Do you know what I mean? They've been telling their sons to stay away from me before, but that's because I'm forgiven. That's because I have peace now. You know, and it's the best. As I say, I don't always like comparing it to a drug, but there's no drug can make you feel like that peace you get. It's like beautiful, do you know what I mean? And you just feel, I'm going to be all right, I'm loved, you know, I'm going to be all right.
This has been a UCB podcast in partnership with Junction 42. Find out more about Junction 42 at their website, junction42.org, and make sure you subscribe to the show to hear a new episode every Tuesday.